Welcome back to this YouTube channel. In the last video, we talked about how to work with pandas in Google Colab. In this video, we'll talk about how to work with pandas in Visual Studio Code. Now, if you've been following along with the Python documentation series, you should already have known how to work with VS Code for Python, right? But now we want to look at how to work with pandas in VS Code. One thing you should note about this is that if you watched the previous video, Google Colab automatically saves in Google Space, right? You need a Google account, and it saves in that space right there. So, but in this case, you would have to be deliberate with saving your files, not just saving here, because you can set VS Code to automatically save your files. But if you want to push it to the cloud, you would need a tool like GitHub, right? So that's one of the things about this one. So let's just see how to get started, to begin with, and what the flow would be if you want to work with pandas here in this environment. Now, you would have to go to extensions and look for Jupyter. And if you click that, I already have it installed. So, but you will see an install button here. So just click on that install button. Once you do that, you're good to go with working in VS Code environment with Jupyter. Now, one other thing you would have to then do, as you can see, you don't have a file here yet. So you go to your folder, and create a file. I'm going to call this folder a pandas doc. I would just drag that folder right into this VS Code area. Once you do that, it opens it up here. And once this is done, it's almost like you are almost set. The other thing I would advise you do is create another folder here. So if you want to work with, say, exercise 01 or something like that, 01 lesson, I don't know how you want to name your folder, but there's something I want to show you here. So think of this folder like all the folders or directories that contains every other project I might have. And so let's say that this is the Python pandas documentation. You can just go into this folder. I'm going to use the terminal now. You go to terminal, new terminal. Let me zoom in a bit so that you can see what I'm doing here. Now I'm here, right? I would go into this 01 lesson, and to do that, I'll use cd 01 underscore lesson, enter. Now you can see I'm in that directory. What I want to do, which I advise you to do, is to create a virtual environment. And what a virtual environment does is that it gives you an environment within this directory that just keeps track of all the packages you're using, the version of those packages and all that. And this is very important. And it's not like your program isn't going to work if you don't do this, but it's to your advantage, so that sometime later, if pandas changes, if the documentation changes, it's easy for you to know what version you used, and it's easy for you to know how to keep track of what you've been working on. So to do that, we do here python-m venv, which is the recommended virtual environment, and you can just do venv again as the name of the environment. Now this venv is a name you want to give to your virtual environment. It could be something else. I could have also made it env. I could have made it plenv, just about anything, but venv is fine. And once I do that, I hit the enter button and I let it create that virtual environment for me. If we go into that folder, you can see that the virtual environment is now created for me. All right. So one thing we have to do now is to activate that environment. And in order to activate that environment, here in Mac OS, you do source venv/bin/activate. In Windows, you don't need the source, you do venv. So if you're using a Windows machine, you do venv script, then activate. So this is just the difference between working with activating your virtual environment in Windows as opposed to Mac OS. But because I'm using Mac OS, I will go over to the source venv/bin/activate. Activate. And if you look at this place now, we have that virtual environment activated. And so now we can go ahead to install Pandas. And the way to do that is pip install Pandas. And I hit the enter button. It installs Pandas for me. And once it's done, I'll see this message that it successfully installed NumPy. If you remember, we said that Pandas is built on top of NumPy. And this is the NumPy here, as you can see. But apart from Pandas, it also installs some other useful packages. Once you're done with that, let's go ahead to create our first file, not inside the venv, but rather inside the 01 lesson. So I'm going to create a new file here, and let me call this intro. Now the file extension for working with Jupyter is ipynb, and I hit the enter button. And as soon as I do that, you can see I have that environment here for me. And so let's see. One thing you need to take note of here, though, is that you would need to select your kernel. So think of a kernel like a low-level system that helps you to activate all these commands that you want to start typing here. So if I go ahead with 1+1 here, for instance, and I run this, as you can see, it's asking me to choose from a kernel source. And so let's say I want to choose the Jupyter kernel. It asks me which of them, and I just choose this venv. And once I do that, you can see now we have 2. So at this point where it asks you for to choose a kernel, I don't know what kernel you have on your system, but just try to locate that. And if you have an issue with this, just let me know in the comment section below. So let's do the same thing we did. Import pandas as PD. If we run this, we should see that now we have that tick mark here indicating that pandas is now working correctly. So this is how you can do this using VS Code. In the next video session, I'll show you another way you can work with pandas. What's the advantage of this? As you can see, if you've been working with VS Code before, it's easy for you to continue working with VS Code, right? You don't want to install anything else. You don't want to create another account. You don't have internet all the time. This doesn't require an internet for you to work with it. However, of course, if you want to install pandas, you definitely require an internet. And if you want to install other packages which we might be using later, you would also need the internet. But other than that, I mean, to do any other thing, you don't need the internet to do that. But then the disadvantage of this is that now if you want to save this to the cloud, you have to be deliberate about it. I need to probably use Git, Git init, and we're not talking about Git yet, at least not now. But you would need a tool like Git to push your code, so that you can have it stored for you on the cloud. So see you in the next one. We will look at another way to do this. And thank you for watching. Bye.